Welcome to Tanya Today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zichron Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. We welcome Erica in Norway, June all the way from Australia, where it's a late night, Liba and Davida in New York. Good morning. Joyce is with us. Welcome. And TJ also in Melbourne, Australia. Clem, look at this. Australia's taken over down under. Well, in Brisbane, Australia. Andrea here in North America, Phoenix. And David, very bright early morning. It might not even be bright yet in California. Michael in Germany, good afternoon. Robert, shalom to you in Boston. Greg is in Bakersfield, California, welcome. Heather in Connecticut. Eugenia is in sunny Florida. All right. Abdul, welcome. Lori, Boker Tov. Fran is with us also in Florida. And Sandy is in Michigan, if I recall correctly. Dam in Indonesia. Good evening. Darren in the Philippines. Rick in Crystal Lake, Illinois. Good morning. Diane in Arizona. Stanley and Margaret, Florida. Good morning. Mark in Santa Rosa, California is with us. Lynn in Long Island. Good morning. William in Seoul, Korea. South Korea. Welcome. Boker Tov to Tim in Texas, and Alice is in Baltimore, rather. And Rusty is also in Texas. Beautiful. We have with us on Instagram, Jens Telebenta, good morning. Akoy in Peru, and some names I can't make out over here. I don't know how to pronounce them. We have on Clubhouse, Vilma, Bachia, Benjamin, Adam, Tim, Merrill, David, Eliana. Oh, welcome. Okay, chapter 12. This is the chapter. B-I-T, Beinoni in training. That's who we are. It's chapter in one word, the Beinoni. The intermediate individual. We spoke about the righteous. We spoke about a rasha, in two levels of both. And now we come to the intermediate person. Well, what's an intermediate person? Just average Joe. Well, not exactly. This Beinoni is a person that doesn't allow the animal soul to ever have enough power to conquer what we call the small city, meaning us, the limbs of our body, at all. Never will it clothe itself, the animal soul, in one's thought, speech, and action to make you do something wrong, to do something that is sinful. In other words, the three garments of the animal soul, right, that are thought, speech, and action, that originate in klipa, that's where they get their power from, meaning the shell that hides on godliness, that wants to subdue the individual to think, speak, and act according to its agenda, never prevails over the divine soul. To the extent, it never prevails to the extent that it will be able to clothe itself in a forbidden thought, in words that are inappropriate, that should not be said, or in any of the limbs of the body that a person should do an action that is wrong, sinful, which in that instance would make that person a rasha by doing that. So it's only the three garments of the divine soul alone that manifests itself in the person of the Beinoni. in thought, speech, and action. Now, the Alter Rebbe says something very interesting here. It's actually extremely short class today. The Beinoni is someone who that never committed a transgression, nor will ever transgress. The name Rasha, any wickedness, any evil, cannot be applied to this person even for a moment throughout his life. Oh, that's a pretty, strong statement. Very strong statement to say that. Again, that the Beinoni never committed any transgression or will ever transgress for a moment throughout his life. So let's unpack this exactly. That's today's class. It's very short. So this last point, so the Rebbe explains, what does it mean? He can never transgress, never will transgress. He's lost his freedom of choice? No. In the life of the Beinoni, in other words, in the life of being a Beinoni, you won't transgress. Now, you have to choose that life, right? You have to choose that way, that path. But in that path, in that way, indeed, anything of the past, the person owned to such a degree that, what does it mean? They never transgress. You're not born a Beinoni. You're not born a righteous person. You're not born a Beinoni either. So it means once they've reached to that stage of the Beinoni, all of the past has been owned, dealt with, and whatever stain is the person has, the stain isn't there, so to speak, or, for the most part at least. And in the world of the Beinoni, in the life of the Beinoni, which again, this is something you need to choose, the Beinoni hasn't sinned. Now, remember, sin is in one's actions, in one's words, how we communicate, and also in one's thought, cogitated, meditated, willful thought, as we will learn more about. So that's what it means here. So, the person has to live in the life of the world of the Beinoni, and if not, then it's this is the what the other says. Again, a very short class over here. So in the other very simple point, or point that was made, is again, the Beinoni is not going to do a sin, not going to do something that will allow the animal soul to be entertained in any conduct, in any form of behavior. That's the Beinoni. That's a very powerful thing. Now, we're going to learn more about this, again, a very short class. So we'll learn a lot more of this. But what's important over here is understanding how this is intermediate. Which really in tomorrow's class we'll get more of that. Okay. Questions, comments, thoughts? Let me go over here. Remember 2 question marks before you ask a question. Lori, complete tshuva. I missed something earlier. complete. I guess complete in the sense, the Beinoni do complete tshuva, that therefore complete, that it is not a stain, I guess. I don't know if it means it has to be tshuva miyava. I'm not certain exactly. Fran, you put a question mark, but I don't see a question. Alice, how do we know the true tzaddik from a true Beinoni? Very good question, Alice. Moses had moments of sin. Well, yeah, that's not so simple. So, we're going to get more into this, but on what do you see of a person? What do you see of a person? You don't see their heart. What's in their heart, rather. You don't see in their mind. You don't are privy to understanding their mind. What are you privy to? Well, their actions, their words of communication. And we're not privy to their thoughts, but sometimes you can kind of, figure something out about their thoughts. But that's all we're really privy to a person. So if you look at a person's actions, and if you look at a person's speech, their communication, their words, and you see that of a Beinoni, well, of course, what are you going to see? You're going to see something that's equal, them and a tzaddik, a Beinoni and a tzaddik, when it comes to behavior. What is the distinction? Beyond that. Well, that'll, in tomorrow's class, we're going to deal with that. So when Mashiach comes, will we all be Beinonis? We'll actually be greater than Beinoni. Greater than that. Good question, Davida. Very good question. We will be greater than. We'll be more like our Rebbe. Mm-hmm. Fran, excellent question. Is a Beinoni struggle? Well, yes. As we will learn more about, the Beinoni does struggle, in fact, because there is an animal soul that needs to be struggled with. Just Beinoni wins the struggle. So, like Alice asked, how do you know a true tzaddik from a true Beinoni? So that's not so simple. You're not going to know it only by their behavior. That won't be sufficient. Right? Because we don't know what's going on the inside necessarily, of a person. Oh, why can't a tzaddik just have a well-controlled animal soul that has been subdued? We're going to bring that up, actually. Good question. Excellent question. All of this is to come. Very good, Alice. All right. Anybody else with anything on Instagram? Again, a very short class today. Clubhousers. Anybody with a comment, question, something to share? Rick asked the question, did the Rebbe struggle? He didn't struggle like a Beinoni struggles. As tzaddikim, they have conquered, to become a tzaddik, so there was a struggle to get there. But once you get there, in chapter 15 will deal more with that. There isn't a struggle. Not a struggle with the animal soul. There might be struggle in godliness itself. Maybe in godliness itself. So yeah, in that respect. So what I think an important point that we should, make sure we have the take home is that the struggle is amazing. And the more we struggle, the more we are choosing in life. The less we struggle, Like the wicked person we spoke about yesterday, the Russia, who is with Veraloy, and it's not good for them. Why not good for them? Is because the good is um, so hidden, so ineffective in their lives that whatever they do, they always justify their behavior. And therefore there's no remorse, there's no owning of their lives and their behavior. Excuse me. Beinoni has, full responsibility, full ownership, making sure that there would never be a moment that the animal soul is going to dominate in thought, speech, and action. Okay. So the Rebbe didn't struggle then in what we call our struggle between godly and worldly or slash self-directed, you know, um, self-directed animal soul. So therefore, yeah, the righteous don't struggle as we struggle at all. John, we should always judge another person favorably, but under what circumstances should we judge? Should we judge? Period. Are you supposed to make judgments? Yeah, but the question is of who. Yeah, don't judge the person. You cannot judge an action. That's one thing. And another thing is judgment is more about ourselves to be judged for ourselves. Right? So that way we're always owning whatever we need. If we don't make judgments in our lives about our behavior, so then we're not going to own our actions, our speech and thoughts. So we need um, to judge ourselves. Others, judge favorably. Okay, I hope that was clear. So anybody here again? To share with us. All right. Remember 1 o'clock Tanya Rambam today. Finished the book of offerings and move forward. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine coming to you from Chabad Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.